is the most common roadblocks that you experience? That's a really good one.
Yeah.
So common roadblocks that we run into, I mean, it's one of those things. We've covered this in a kind of a roundabout way here, but people do get kind of set in the way that they like to do things.
Mm-hmm.
I occasionally you run into some folks who have been in one role for their career. I mean, where I've spent 19 years on this system. I set this up when it was
They
initially
created the
they
process,
created it.
right?
And a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times you
It's
run
their
into it where
baby.
it's like, this is the guy in that
Yep.
role. I mean, he's the person doing that thing. And so it's a lot of taking the time to, and I kind of addressed this earlier, but it's showing them what is available. There's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times nobody's going to know off the top of your head. I mean, even people who are in this stuff, looking into these things, know
Mm-hmm.
everything that's available, all of the options that are out there, unless this is
Right.
what you do day in, day out, like we do. It's one of those things that it's just not going to be on your radar. You have your own job, you have your own things that you have to look into. So
Right.
keeping on tabs of these things, that's where we
Mm-hmm.
come in, where we can kind of show, hey, there are opportunities out there. We can use that expertise and know
Mm-hmm.
what is out there. Now, finding the right thing that's going to work for them, that's where we have to kind of build into that understanding, but showing them, hey, there are other opportunities. There are other things that can, while you're familiar with the system, or this is something where you're comfortable with, making them understand it's not the only way, and showing them there are other things. It may come down to it that, hey, this is still working for them, or this is still going to be the thing, and we don't pressure them to change these things. We don't make them like, hey, you got to get rid of that. That's not going to do it. But we show them the opportunities, and that's the other thing that's really cool, is just being able to show what's there. So
Yeah. And I think it comes down to, we talk a lot about executive alignment, right? Like, why are we doing this project? Why now? What is the reasoning behind it? What are your outcomes going to be? And I think setting that vision and those goals and the outcomes at the beginning is what you go back to when this change is occurring, especially for the end user, right? Those who are most affected by this change. Right. This is the vision. This is what we're going for. It's not, hey, Sally Joe, we are doing this and that's it. Right. You can't do that. People are they're already resistive to change. If you start coming at them like that, they're going to be even more resistive to change. So I don't disagree with you. And guys, go back and watch the live I did with Billy, who's one of our awesome project managers here. We talk about this and we talk about leading change, right? It goes from the top down, right? It's about how this is going to affect the overall organization. And it comes down to making sure you have that vision set at the beginning of the project.
Yes.
So, Mason, any more questions in the comment box?
Just to follow up on what you just said, though.
Yeah.
I mean, Billy said it better than I can now, so I will refer to that. Definitely go check that other one out. But I will say definitely you come down to, it isn't just the technical end of things. Like, well, we can advise on all of the kind of elements that are just inherent to this business, and just kind of like, okay, yeah, no, this is a system that's not working. This is the thing that could replace it. Plug and play, move things around, get your integrations, get all that kind of fun stuff together. Awesome. At the core of things, if you have certain problems where there's either a confidence issue in this system, or maybe they've tried to do an implementation like this before and either it didn't work out or wasn't the right solution, or somebody tried to advise the wrong way and didn't do their job in listening, and just take little pot shots there. But anyway, no, but when if things didn't work out and you don't have that confidence, it's making sure that you also address the leadership end of things too, the core part of things, getting the support from the top down, making sure everybody sees, hey, we are all in this together. We are all moving forward in the same direction, and this is what we want to accomplish. That's so important to get that kind of core business community element behind those solutions as well.
That's right.
And we talk about that a lot. I mean, almost every conversation that we have with our clients really comes down to, and also, hey, what are you doing to promote this? How are you having these conversations? What kind of communication is going on in the business? How is this being presented? And it can take, some of these are, county level things where they're smaller kind of things, but it's making sure you still have all of those communications within the business, within the organization, making sure there's something, even if it's just a little memo board or something to that effect, just making sure, hey, these changes are happening. We're excited about it. And this is why.
Yeah, it comes down to communication and how you communicate. People receive communication very differently, right? And that's one thing we help organizations do. As Mason mentioned, we come up with a communications plan. How is this going to be communicated down? And sometimes it's not in the form of, an all hands meeting, or it's not in the form of an email. Sometimes it's a video,
Yes.
right? Sometimes it's a cartoon. Right. You have to change the way you communicate, especially throughout these long projects. But the key is to communicate early and often, always.
Yes.
That's our motto. One of the other roadblocks, and this kind of goes along the same lines, in the public sector, I think it's true in the private sector as well, but there are a lot of silos, lots of silos. We talk about the role of IT in these projects. It's very, very important. But sometimes IT doesn't understand what processes that HR has to follow, right? Or procurement, right? That's a big one. So naturally, there are these silos because technology has to be integrated a certain way, but HR needs a certain thing to be able to adhere to their rules and their process. So can you speak to that a little bit, Mason, especially from you being boots on the ground, working alongside these people?
Well, this is actually a point that's very, very dear to me, only because I worked in compliance, making sure that everything is legal, everything is above board, everybody is very aware of these things. And so then stuff just kind of happens when you have silos. People will, goodness, I'm trying to think of any particular example here, but you'll have a finance team that does something a very specific way, or you have a sales team or what have you, certain things where it's like, okay, this is the thing we're going to do and we're going to run with this and this is going to be great. Boy, if legal's not looped in, you can run into some hot water quick.
That's right.
Yeah, no, but having those silos, silos happen at a lot of different levels, and they happen at a level where it can even happen within smaller silos. So you run into certain departments are kind of operating in their own spot, and then teams within those departments may not even be aware of what another team in your department. You have people that are in the finance team aren't necessarily aware of what your forecasting team or your accounting team are really up against. And so maybe they'll have different systems that they're using, or they're using the same system, but in a way that doesn't talk to each other.
Right.
That's where you run into these things where it's such an opportunity to bring all of this together, to break down those things, have that communication. But then you start running into some really cool stuff. You can run with that data. Now you have all that data, you can start making better use out of different types of AI tools, different things along those lines, or even just to look at it and say, okay, here's how I can forecast some stuff, even not using any kind of AI model or anything like that, but just being able to pull all this stuff together to say, let's make sure we get everybody around the same table, and let's all just kind of talk and say, okay, I'm using this, I'm doing this, and this is what I'm using it to accomplish. And oh, hey, I use that same system, but I use it in a different way. Or I do this, but I actually use a totally different system. It's like, okay, let's bring everybody together, talk all this out, make sure we're all on the same page, and then find the thing that's going to work best for everybody. That's the part that's really powerful for me, is having that.
It really is. Having that moment.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Because very rarely, again, they are running cities, they are running counties, right? They are running transit authorities and airports. When do they have time?
No,
right.
It's
crazy to even think about. They're trying to make sure that they serve their citizens and their constituents in the best way that they know how to, and that they've been doing it for 15, 20 plus years. Right. So Mason, you've been here for a few months, right? What is one thing or one skill maybe that you didn't have prior to coming to Avero that you've really massaged and you've really grasped onto since you've been here?
I will say, so there's a lot of technical elements to a lot of these kind of things. So people want to know about AI. I didn't know much of anything about AI. It was one of those things where like I had the base understanding of these things. You get the fundamentals, but it's understanding like, okay, what can this thing do? And that's where I really leaned on a lot of, like I was saying, the different partners that I have here. We have so many people with different experiences, skill sets, like just perspectives, all
Hmm.
of the stuff where I was able to lean on my team members to be able to really get an understanding, and I mean very quickly get an understanding of what can this thing do. And I mean they're happy to show me. They're like, oh yeah, you can take
Oh
a
yeah.
PowerPoint, put it into here, and ask it for a different visual or to summarize things. You can move into this kind of stuff. You can take these things, but being able to get that exposure, then I'm able to now talk to that to my clients that I'm talking to, where they might be in the exact same boat I am, where I don't know what AI does. It could do something. I hear about it, but I don't know what it can do. And being able to take that and say, okay, cool, I don't know this. Let me learn, and then immediately apply it is
Hmm.
super cool. That's been an awesome experience for me.
It is.
I still very much consider myself learning a lot about what AI could do.
We're
It's
always learning.
all the time.
Yeah.
But I'm a champion for it. I mean, I think it has a lot of potential in a lot of different ways. You have to hold its hand, and it's not going to just come in and take your job.
That's
It's
right.
not going to do that.
Yeah.
But it has a lot of potential to act as a tool to be able to say, okay, cool. This is something I can take the data that I'm already using to perform a function in a higher way or a quicker way or a more efficient way, which is just, I don't know. I think that's really cool.